Welcome back. This is part 2 of my conversation with Jackie Ganey. In this one, we're digging deeper into the silent pressures that moms carry and the shame that often hides underneath. Let's get back into it. It's amazing to me how we've actually come to accept mom guilt, which is actually shame majority of the time. We've accepted that, but we cannot even, we can't really accept joy. Like you're saying, why? Like, cause it just gets covered up and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, this feels right. I feel guilty. Okay.
Yes.
But
I'm back in my comfort zone. All right, here we go.
Like, oh my God, I smiled today, or I laughed at the friend, or I went to go meet a friend for lunch. Like, and then it's immediately falling, if I'm a bad mom and I should have, I took time for myself.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's just crazy that is the emotion that we've accepted.
Yes.
But we are not accepting when we are feeling hurt, sad, happy.
Yes.
God forbid we feel happy and give ourselves permission to feel it as long as we want.
Yes.
You know?
I know. That's what's so sad too.
Yeah. Can you share a time when guilt tried to bully you into silence or self-neglect? Like if there's any memory that comes up.
I feel like, it's like a pattern of my life of just, of just self-neglect. Do you know what I mean? Like this, trying to prove my worth through performance, and yet in the performing, neglecting my own self. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of I guess I can. So like when we moved here to Tennessee 3 years ago, and then we had, our daughter, and then I had just started a new job just like 2 months after she was born. My husband started a new job. And so it was just like this time of transition with no community because we knew nobody when we got here, you know? And so feeling like I was struggling in so many ways, but I was like, I just really want to have a place where I can go and just exercise. And I really just want to I've had, these dietary issues for a long time, and I really wanted to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And I just never made the space for either, and they're simple things, but I just remember, thinking to myself at one point, this job is going to end and then I'll take care of myself. And I just think even now it makes me sad for myself because I'm like, wow, that is not a way to live. That's not what I would want for my daughter.
Yeah.
I don't want that for her to think, oh, I'll do this now and then I'll take care of myself later. We should always be caring for ourselves in every situation.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not sure if that's
it does because and even just thinking okay, well, how even when that thought came in after moving here, how long you continued in that job before it did come to an end.
Yes.
To think that's years in the making of just continued self-neglect. And it's when we see it in regards to looking at our kids and being that actually how I'm treating myself is not how I would want them to treat themselves.
Yes.
So why am I but we're comfortable with it. Or we, and also we have to risk something in order to do that, right? There is a cost, and not always financial. It's the cost of fearing we're going to be judged for doing it, or the cost of taking the action towards it and our spouse isn't supportive, or whatever that looks like.
Or even just the side comments of other moms or our moms saying things like, oh, that must be nice.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You get to do that. I wish I could do that.
Yes. And then and that's what is so hard, because we actually need the encouragement to go do it.
Yes.
But why it's most women that we would share that with would actually shame us for doing it. It's hard to find people who are safe and really encourage you to say you matter.
Yes.
You matter too.
Yes.
Your kids matter, your husband matters, and you matter.
Yes.
Just as much.
Yes.
Go the things that you sacrifice and you do for other people. I want to see that for yourself.
Yes.
Well,
and it's because it's hard to find people who actually believe that they matter.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And to find women that are actually authentically themselves, who can say, wholeheartedly, like, I matter, so you definitely matter.
Yes.
You know,
Oh my
I think
gosh.
because what they're projecting is what they feel in themselves, you know.
Right.
Oh, that must be nice you get to do that, is a projection of, oh, well, I wouldn't be worthy of that.
Right.
You know? And
Yes.
so, but yeah, to your point, like, it takes enough strength and courage and bravery to just go do the thing. And then you have all the comments
Yes.
and the shame from other people weighing in on it.
It's no wonder that those efforts a lot of times come to a halt.
Yes.
Because just thinking for myself, there's many, many times where it's like, okay, I know this is important to me, or I know I need this. And so I'll go take the actions, but then I face resistance or the fear, you know, the comments and like fear of what people are thinking. And then I just stop.
Yes.
And it's this like start, stop in many areas. But yeah, oh my gosh, it is so true. Just the projection of what other people are thinking. And I do remember, I know I've mentioned this to you before, like I remember as a kid looking, because my mom, like she really, you know, did not feel like she was worthy to take care of herself in a lot of ways. And I remember as a kid looking at her and thinking, I wish she would take care of herself.
Yes.
Like, I wish she would do something for herself. Even, like, we would go to the mall and she had gift cards for her birthday that people had given her. And she would she'd go to use that on us.
Yes.
And I remember being like, I just wish she would buy something for herself.
Yes.
You know, and just thinking of that now and how, like, as a kid, that's what I noticed that. And there wasn't the explicit, like, oh, I'm not worthy. Oh, I'm not valuable.
No.
And just like you were saying at the beginning, like, it's not like those things are overtly or explicitly said. It's the messages through the behaviors or the side comments that aren't direct, but these are the messages that we receive in these indirect ways. And so that's just kind of what I noticed with her, you know.
And it's interesting because my mom was the same way, where, like, I remember her just, like, she didn't like jewelry, she didn't like perfume, like, and I loved all that stuff, you know. And similarly, for all the reasons, but I remember just wanting her to enjoy that.
Yes.
You know, because I think I even knew then as a kid, like you did watching your mom, like, this, she doesn't like that because it feels frivolous and like she's not worthy of it. I don't think it comes from a place of like, oh, I just really don't like that stuff. Like, because she's girly, you know? So I think it was just more of like, oh, I'm not worthy of having that, so I'm just going to pretend like I don't like it. So then when I don't receive it, I'm not hurt.
Yes.
You know?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, because like what you're sharing with your mom, I just think of how disconnected we get from ourselves and from who we are.
Yes.
We get disconnected from what we want, from our desires, from our longings, from our dreams, from the things that we hope for one day.
Yes.
And I know we've been able to have some conversations around that disconnection, especially in motherhood. And so could you just talk a little bit more about that, like what you see, whether it's within yourself or other moms, and just that disconnect, right?
Yes.
Like how disconnected we are from us.
Yes. I would say, like, in myself, for myself, like the thing that I've noticed, I was working when I first was born, and then worked until he was like three and a half. Excuse me. Then we had our second in that time. And then going and staying home, you know, with them, just seeing how I very quickly realized how disconnected I was from myself, you know, in that. Because I think because we have needs that do get met at work, you know, whether they're healthy or unhealthy, like we have those needs that get met. And typically what we do, I feel like as a society, is we are all very disconnected from ourselves. And so we take that long list of needs. I think there's like 16 that Chip names, right?
Yeah.
So these 16 needs, and then we put them all on work. And so it's like work needs to meet all of these.
Yeah.
You know, the support, the what was the one? Accomplishment, like all of them, they all have to be met at work. And then I feel like what happens, and I don't know if this is true, but like what happens then is then we become unfulfilled at work because work isn't meeting all of the needs that are never supposed to be met at work.
Yeah.
You know, work meets a couple. And then we're supposed to get our needs met from various people in community, you know? And so anyway, I say all that to say, like, I just found that once I quit working, it just like turned this light bulb on of like, I don't actually know who I am. Like I am totally disconnected from my emotions, the needs that I have. And I was so bored. I was so bored, like so bored. And then of course, then the guilt would come in like, oh, well, you shouldn't be bored. Most people, you know, because in the shame tapes from other mothers, thank you, was like, oh, you should be so lucky. You know, you should be so grateful that you get to stay home and and all that stuff. And
it never helps.
It never helps. I'm like, oh yeah, you told me to be grateful. I should be grateful. Oh yeah, that makes me feel more grateful. I'm like, no, that's not gratitude.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think just realizing that, and then, you know, immediately went to a counselor and was like, hey, I need help. Like, I don't know what is going on here, but I've got to figure out who I am in all of this. And how do I get back to her?
It can feel like such a daunting process because it's almost like what you're saying is this stripping away of these external things. So like when work gets stripped, right? And we're like, holy smokes, like I didn't realize how I was trying to get these needs I've had met here. And now with this gone, what do I do and how do I get this met?
Yes.
And then I also have no clue, like who am I now?
Yes.
As there's kind of this identity crisis, if you will. And I see that too. And like in, you know, with moms trying to over-identify in their role as a mother and thinking like this somehow motherhood, then it's almost like motherhood could step in and be like, now you're going to try to get fulfilled just by your role as a mom.
Yes.
When I don't know, I've been thinking of this and I don't have like fully formed thoughts around it, but just roles, right? Just like, okay, we have a role as a mom or a role as a wife or a role at work. Well, any role can be stripped away.
Yes.
Like it's not permanent, you know, even as a mother, right? Like if something were to happen to our kids and they were gone, God forbid, like we would no longer have the role as mother, you know, and in that typical sense. And so it's just hard where we don't even realize what we're doing. Like we're taking one thing and because we don't know what to do, first of all, kind of coming back to like, you know, the guilt or what's actually really shame around all this stuff. We don't know how to get our needs met. We don't know how to work through these feelings. So then we are trying to get fulfillment from these people and these roles that could never do that. Yes.
And I feel like it's, you know, when we don't do feelings, we do rules, roles, and scripts. So like when we are disconnected, we are then trying to reconnect with ourselves through these rules and roles that we make up, you know? Yes. So to your point, like I quit my job and then I found myself, I've shared this with you before, but like I thought it was my duty to make sure there was never like an empty grocery in the house because that's my duty as a mother. And so I found myself like at the grocery 3 times a week. Like just like killing myself trying to make sure that we never ran out of toilet paper. We never ran out of these dumb things. And then it wasn't, I think until you said it when you were like, yeah, I do like auto ship. And I was like, why would that ever have been my job to make sure that we never ran out of things, you know?
Yeah.
And it like in that simple thing that you were just like talking about what you do. And I was like, oh yeah, like why am I making my life so hard?
Yeah.
But it was just this like, well, that's my role. Like I'm just going to step into that.
Yes.
First, like, yeah.
Well, as you're talking about this, it's like, I'm just thinking of when we say, okay, this is my role, like what I'm hearing you even saying that is we then we make up like the rules around the role. Okay, if I'm going to be staying at home with my kids in motherhood, then that means like, here are the rules for me.
Yes.
Here's what I'm allowed to do. Here's what I'm not allowed to do. Here's what it needs to look like. But then we don't even question that or think like, but who's making that up?
Yes.
That's,
where does that come from?
Yeah, where is it coming from? And some of it's ourselves for sure, but a lot of it's the influence we have on culture or from culture and what's expected of us. And I don't know.
And I think for me, a lot of it comes from my own mom of
yes.
I can remember her saying, multiple times throughout my childhood, essentially, if you work, you're bad. You're a bad mom.
Yeah.
And so then her saying that and then doing the things that I was doing, like making sure we never had an empty pantry. And then we never ran out of laundry detergent and that the house was always tip top, perfectly cleaned,
right.
Vacuum lines in the carpet, that. So to hear her saying that and shaming the working mom and then to come over here and be doing the performance of the stay-at-home mom like this just made me think, once I stepped into it, I think that's where it came from. It just flew downstream. Okay, now I'm just going to repeat it. So this is what I do as a mom.
Yeah.
I never stopped to think why would that be my role as a mom?
Yeah. That's such a good point because it's so much more than even what I was saying is the blanket statement of culture. That's part of it. But even what's the stronger thing is where we've come from.
Yes.
And the messages and we've been able to do some story work together, which has been awesome.
So fun.
Through Freedom Movement, which has been great. And that has helped me to better understand what you're talking about with why it's so important to know what our story is and what the narrative is, what the messaging is, so that we can better understand why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes.
And why those rules are coming up. And as we step into the different roles that we do play, why that's coming up and where it's coming from, because otherwise we need to be able to name what it is that we're fighting against or resisting or that's really trying to kind of bully us and dictate us to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And see where it is, because then we have the chance to actually break that, and we have the chance to create a new narrative, and we have a chance to create to pass on something new and not perpetuate the problem.
Yes. And how I just, as you're talking, I'm just thinking and such a gift to give to our kids.
Yeah.
That is the blessing. You know what I mean? That is the blessing we get to pass on through allowing God, receiving his healing. Those are the blessings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Versus just, I just do this. I'm just going to go. I'm too uncomfortable with naming it and identifying it and getting curious and pausing. So I'm just going to keep on passing it down.
Yeah.
It's such a disservice.
It is such a disservice. And that is such a gift, and to be able to give our kids. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself. I have to keep reminding myself because it feels like such a fight.
It is.
It's just okay, the one of the best gifts that I can give my kids is a healthier version of me, a more whole version of me, because they're going to be better off. But in order to do that, that means that I have to carve out time to go do something that seems frivolous, or it's not glamorous, or it's not shiny, or it doesn't produce a tangible return, and so just and I have very much felt I've had to fight tooth and nail for that.
Yes.
And in the fight for that time to meet with a counselor, to, go do whatever it is that I've needed to do to be healthier, I've found I've not only had to fight for the time, but I've also fought people in my life, and at times, which Miles thankfully is you can be as honest as you want to be. So I've fought him and his resistance of these things before he's understood why they matter and why they're important, or other family members. And there is a fight, but it doesn't mean we're to bow down and we're not to do it, but in doing that, I did struggle to believe I was worth it. But in taking the steps, it's helped grow my sense of value and worth. And then I'm hoping that shows to my kids.
Right. It made me think of the verse in the Bible when you were talking, I'm going to botch this, but we are the salt and the light of the world. And it made me think as you're doing the work, your light is coming through, because as God is healing those darkened, depressed places, he's opening up the light. And so even to your point, when the light goes into the darkness, it is battling the darkness. So as we heal and our light starts to grow, it is going to be constant resistance.
Yeah.
Because so many people, we know culturally, are living in that place of darkness and denial.
Yes.
And so and I think you and I both found this, like as we begin to open up and ourselves are beginning to actually be seen and we are connected with who God made us to be, that others, I don't think because they're trying to be this way, but it's just from a place of denial and not wanting to go there.
Yes.
They just automatically put up that resistance. And that's what I found, like even with my husband, like as I've done this work and I am opening, like we just recently met with a counselor and she was like, oh, I want you to bring in an object that like shows where you're at, like where you feel like you are right now. And I brought in like a bud of a flower essentially.
Oh, cool.
And I said, I feel like she is like getting ready to bloom. Like never ever in my whole life have I ever felt like that, but but it was like really, it was just such a cool moment to be like, wow, God, like you have taken this, like, you know what I mean? Dried up old, whatever. Yes.
Yeah. It's making me tear up.
Yes. Like, and then now you've like got me in this place of budding. Like I can feel how much you have like excavated, off my heart. And now I'm budding. And then, and then my husband, he brought in a rock and he was like, this is me. Like, I'm just stuck. Like I'm a rock and I'm stuck. And, that was just, it gave me perspective to be like, this is where some of the resistance that I feel from him is coming from.
Yes.
Because he's not there. He doesn't yet see his value.
Yeah.
And he doesn't yet know what it's going to look like. And to him, it's the fear. Like the fear just has him stuck in that place of like, I'm not going anywhere near those emotions. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's such a great picture, a visual of, and understanding too, okay, this is where he's at. And I think what I've had to come to realize and accept is, because I think I used to try and convince and be like, I'm trying to convince you, this is like, this matters, this is really important, blah, blah, blah. Because then if I can convince you, then I will have permission to go do this.
Yes.
Right? Like I can do it guilt-free, right? Which is, but then I'd be waiting forever. And I had been waiting for a long time. And it wasn't until like realizing I can be okay with him not getting it for that time being and not understanding it. But this is something I know I need to do.
Yes.
And I know I need to take the action towards, and in doing that, like just hearing what you're sharing, I mean, if you were to highlight any parts of your journey that has helped you get to the place of feeling like you're a bud, what are some of those things that stand out to you right now that has really helped contribute to you being at this place?
As far as like practical steps or just like in general?
Yeah, it could be both. Like if there's, I'm just thinking of like the journey that even if it's the past however many years of, especially since I should say having kids, right? But being at this place of like, I'm about to bloom, like if it's practical, anything that comes to mind.
I think, since motherhood, stripping away my career, I think was a huge part in that. Because to your point, like, that is what really helped me to see like, wow, I was trying to get everything met there. And then having this very, very, I mean, it goes like the world goes quiet when you quit your job. Like it literally, there's nothing going on. It's crickets. Like every day I get up and I'm like, yeah, I already knew it was on the calendar because there's only one thing going on today. And awesome. We're going to the dentist. Right. That's it.
Maybe the grocery store.
Yeah, maybe the grocery store. Okay, great. And then, so when it all goes quiet and you're just left with just you, like for me, it was like, wow, this is it. Like, this is all I have. And I think it's Chip that says this, like, our kids are always looking to us for confirmation and affirmation. Am I saying that right? Confirmation and affirmation. And I feel like the way I grew up is and we're to give that to them. Like that's one of our responsibilities, I guess, is to be, confirming and affirming them and who they are. But what happened when I grew up is my parents, I felt like, were looking to me for confirmation and affirmation of who they were, because of their own brokenness. And so I think, and not that that necessarily even has anything to do with the question, but I just think stripping myself of everything and then having these kids who are then needing so much from me.
Yeah.
I was like, I have got to figure out how to get to who I am and ASAP, because I'm going to be nothing for them if I'm just doing rules, roles, and scripts. Like if that's all I'm doing. And so practically speaking, I was like, I have to go with the counselor because I got to figure this out. Because there was a ton of guilt for me that came from just childhood stuff that happened that where, I was shamed if you talked poorly of the family.
Yeah.
You don't ever say anything bad about your parents. That's a no-no.
Right.
You're going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hidden in the dark. Yeah.
So it stays hidden. So nothing's revealed. And so getting with someone who can really help me to name those things was very helpful. And then just learning to name my emotions. I feel like that was a big one too. Because I was even reflecting on that today. Like, wow, just the vocabulary that I now have, which is still very limited, because for 30 something years of my life, I can't think right now, math, like 37 years of my life, I didn't have any vocabulary for it.
Yeah.
And then 2 years, I'm now trying to teach myself
Oh my gosh,
this,
yes.
But even just reflecting on that, like, wow, now I have the vocabulary to give it, to name what's going on in here. And then it's been this journey for me too of not only am I now naming it, but not getting carried away with it.
Like not letting the emotions take over.
Okay. Exactly. Or letting one emotion like of anger lead to shame, or let, anger lead to guilt, or sadness lead to guilt, or whatever, and not letting it just spiral out of control, but of bringing it back in, and that it's okay to name the things that I need. It's okay to disagree with somebody.
Yeah.
It's okay to be in conflict with another person.
Right.
I don't have to be pleasing and bowing down and doing all these crazy things that I've been doing for my whole life.
Yeah.
That I get to stand strong in who I am. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good.
Does that answer your question?
It does, because I see myself, and it's always easier to see in other people. So like I see it in myself, I see it in other moms. But like what you're talking about with naming, being able to like have a vocabulary, an emotional vocabulary, name this stuff, being able to meet someone who's willing to be honest, to look and try to get a pulse on the reality of what you live through and name things, so that, because what we don't name, what we don't identify, it will likely get repeated.
Yes.
Like it's very hard until we can finally get clear on what it is and be like, shine some light on it and be like, okay, this is what I experienced. This is what I was dealing with. And at some times when X, Y, and Z happens, it comes out in motherhood, like in parenting. Right. But yeah, with being able to name all of that, it's just like so awesome to bring someone in and develop that emotional vocabulary, because like you said, you're able to move through it. And that's where I see, like for myself, I know that's what I'm really trying to learn how to do a lot better, is like navigate it, because otherwise I see like with guilt, we feel it and we can call it the mom guilt, shame, but then we don't know what to do about it. And we don't know how to navigate it. And then it dictates the decisions we make, how we live our lives, the way we show up, like so much of who we are. And it continues to disconnect us from the core of who God made us to be.
Yes.
And so in being able to learn how to name it and process through it, we actually get to the place of being able to flourish.
Yes.
We get to the place of being able to be connected again to the beauty and even like, the good, the bad, the ugly of who we are.
Yes.
And appreciate that and say, okay, like I know what to do when this comes up, so I don't have to be entangled by it.
Yes.
And I don't have to be bullied by this anymore.
Yes.
It takes work. It's hard to do that, but it's so rewarding to get to be there.
That wraps part 2 with Jackie. Next up is part 3, where we'll bring it all together with practical steps, honest stories, and the freedom that comes from reconnecting to who you really are. You don't want to miss it.